Hi friends, this is day 32 of our 365-day Bible reading program. I'm really glad you joined me again today. We're in the book of Genesis, and today's readings are going to be chapters 19, 20, and 21. I just want to share with you that I've been listening, as I said a couple of days ago, I think, to a sermon series by Pastor Robert Morris of Gateway Church. And one of the sermons that he gave recently that I listened to is called It Is Written. And the second part of that is called Staying Alive. And what he talks about is how the Word of God, which is, again, what we're doing every day, how the Word of God is the bread of life, the breath of life, and living water. You need three things to live. You need air, water, and food. And the Word of God is all of these things to our spiritual man, to our spirit man, the bread of life, the breath of life, and living water. And it's just a great sermon about how the Word of God is so important. And it just is really the lifeblood of our being. So if you get a chance to listen to it, I encourage you to do so. I think it'll bring you just great comfort, great encouragement to continue on doing these Bible readings with me. And it's just a good thing. Okay, so we're going to jump into Genesis chapter 19. And we're reading about the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. So this is, if you remember, Lot, Abraham's nephew, settled in the city of Sodom. Now the two angels, these are the same two angels that had just visited Abraham and his wife Sarah and told her that she was going to have, or told them that they were going to have a son in a year's time. So they left Abraham and now they journeyed on to the city of Sodom. Now the two angels came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, "Here now, my lords, please turn into your servant's house and spend the night, and wash your feet, that you may rise early and go on your way." And they said, "No, but we will spend the night in the open square." But he insisted strongly, so they turned into him and entered his house, and he made them a feast, and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Now before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both old and young, all the people from every quarter surrounded the house. So they saw these two strange men go into Lot's house. And they called to Lot and said to him, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out, that we may know them carnally," physically. So Lot went out to them through the doorway and shut the door behind him, and said, "Please, my brethren, do not do so wickedly. See, now I have two daughters who have not known a man. Please let me bring them out to you, and you may do with them as you wish. Only do nothing to these men, since this is the reason they have come under the shadow of my roof." And the men said, "Stand back." Then they said, "This one came in to stay here. He keeps acting as a judge. Now we will deal worse with you than with them." So they pressed hard against the man Lot and came near to breaking down the door. But the men reached out their hands and pulled Lot into the house with them and shut the door. And they struck the men who were at the doorway of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they became weary trying to find the door. Then the men said to Lot, "Have you anyone else here, son-in-law, your sons, your daughters, and whoever you have in the city? Take them out of this place, for we will destroy this place, because the outcry against them has grown great before the face of the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it." So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law, who had married his daughters, and said, "Get up, get out of this place, for the Lord will destroy the city." But to his sons-in-law, he seemed to be joking, so they didn't believe Lot. When the morning dawned and the angels urged Lot to hurry, they said, "Arise, take your wife and your daughters who are here, lest you be consumed in the punishment of the city." And while he lingered, so Lot didn't leave right away. He's just kind of hanging around. I don't know that he really believes that this is going to happen. The men took hold of his hand. So they actually had to take hold of Lot's hand, and it says, and his wife's hand, and the hands of his two daughters, and the Lord being merciful to him, and they brought him out and set them outside the city. So Lot, I don't know if he was really convinced that he was going to leave. So these angels, these men of God, took them by the hand and basically dragged them out of the city. And it said the Lord was being merciful to him. So it came to pass that when they had brought them outside, that he said, "Escape for your life. Do not look behind you, nor stay anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, lest you be destroyed." Then Lot said to them, "Please, no, my lords. Indeed, now your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have increased your mercy which you have shown me by saving my life. But I cannot escape to the mountains, lest some evil overtake me and I die. See now, this city is near enough to flee to, and it is a little one. Please let me escape there. Is it not a little one? And my soul shall live." And he said to him, "See, I have favored you concerning this thing also, in that I will not overthrow this city for which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I cannot do anything until you arrive there." Therefore the name of the city was called Zoar. The sun had risen upon the earth when Lot entered Zoar. Then the Lord rained brimstone and fire on Sodom. Excuse me a second. Sorry. Okay. Then the Lord rained brimstone and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from the land out of the heavens. So he overthrew those cities, all the plain, all the inhabitants of the cities, and what grew in the ground. But his wife looked back behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. Remember, the Lord said, "Don't look back," but she disobeyed. She wanted to see what happened to her town, and she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham went quickly. So now that was Lot. Now we're back to Abraham. And Abraham went early in the morning to see the place where he had stood before the Lord. Remember when the people came to his house yesterday, and he gave them something to eat. So he's gone back to that place where they had met, and he could see Sodom and Gomorrah from that spot. So it said he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the plain, and he saw, and behold, the smoke of the land which went up like a smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass, when God destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham and set Lot out in the midst of the overthrow, and when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had dwelt. Then Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountains, and his 2 daughters who were with him, for he was afraid to dwell in Zoar. And he and his 2 daughters dwelt in a cave. Now the firstborn said to the younger, talking about the 2 daughters, "Our father is old, and there is no man on the earth to come into us, as is in the custom of the earth." So they thought they were never going to find a husband. "Come now, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve the lineage of our father." So they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. And it happened the next day that the firstborn said to the younger one, "Indeed, I lay with my father last night. Let us make him drink wine tonight also, and you go in and lie with him, that we may preserve the lineage of our father." See what sin does? I mean, these people were just still people in the earth. I mean, God had his hand on them, but people were still making mistakes, and God was constantly redeeming. So then they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he did not know that she lay down or when she arose. Thus both the daughters of Lot were with child by their father. The firstborn bore a son and called his name Moab, and he is the father of the Moabites to this day. And the younger, she also bore a son and called his name Ben-Ami, and he is the father of the people of Ammon to this day. Chapter 20. Now back to Abraham. And Abraham journeyed from there to the south and dwelled between Kadesh and Shur and stayed in Gerar. Now Abraham said of Sarah his wife, "She is my sister." And Abimelech, the king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. And God came to Abimelech in a dream by night. Now see, this happened before and with a previous king when the exact same situation happened. God came to Abimelech in a dream and said to him, "Indeed, you are a dead man because of the woman whom you have taken, for she is a man's wife." But Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, "Lord, will you slay a righteous nation also? Did he not say to me, 'She is my sister'? And she, even herself, said, 'He is my brother.' In the integrity of my heart and innocence of my hands, I have done this." So he was saying before the Lord, I really didn't know what I was doing. My heart has integrity and my hands are clean. And God said to him in a dream, "Yes, I know that you did this in the integrity of your heart. For I also withheld you from sinning against me. See what walking in integrity does? It keeps you from sin. God can keep you from sinning if we walk in that integrity. He said, I withheld you from sinning against me. Therefore, I did not let you touch her. Now, therefore, restore the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you shall live. But if you do not restore her, know that you shall surely die, you and all that's yours. So Abimelech rose early in the morning, called all his servants, and told all the things in their hearing. And the men were very much afraid. And Abimelech called Abraham and said to him, What have you done to us? How have I offended you, that you have brought on me and on my kingdom a great sin? You have done deeds to me that ought not to be done. Then Abimelech said to Abraham, what did you have in view that you have done this thing? And Abraham said, Because I thought surely the fear of God was not in this place, and they will kill me on account of my wife. But indeed, she is truly my sister, for she is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother. So Sarah really is his half-sister, and she became my wife. And it came to pass, when God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said to her, This is the kindness that you should do for me in every place wherever we go, to say of me, He is my brother. Then Abimelech took sheep, oxen, and male and female servants, and gave them to Abraham, and he restored Sarah his wife to him. And Abimelech said, See, my land is before you, dwell where it pleases you. Then to Sarah he said, Behold, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Indeed, this vindicates you before all who are with you and before everybody. And thus she was rebuked. So Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, his wife, and his female servants, and they bore children, for the Lord had closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Chapter 21. And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did for Sarah as he had spoken. So this is kind of the continuation of the story that we read from yesterday, when God spoke to Abraham and said to Abraham and Sarah, this time next year you're going to have a baby. So we're kind of getting a timeline here because this is the continuation of that. So the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did for Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age at a set time for which the Lord had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son who was born to him, whom Sarah bore to him, Isaac. Then Abraham circumcised his son Isaac when he was 8 days old, as God had commanded. We read about that yesterday. Now Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. And Sarah said, God has made me laugh, and all who hear will laugh with me. She also said, Who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? For I have borne him a son in his old age. So the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast on the day that Isaac was weaned. And Sarah saw that the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, whom she had borne to Abraham, that he was scoffing. So that a whole issue of sending in another woman to your husband and having a son, this just continues to be a thorn in their side, doesn't it? So Sarah sees his other son scoffing, and therefore she said to Abraham, Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of the bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, namely with Isaac. And the matter was very displeasing in Abraham's sight because of his son. But God said to Abraham, Do not let it be displeasing in your sight because of the lad or because of your bondwoman. Whatever Sarah has said to you, listen to her, for in Isaac your seed shall be called. Yet I will also make a nation of the son of the bondwoman, because he is your seed. So Abraham rose early in the morning and took the bread and a skin of water, and putting it on her shoulder, he gave it to the boy. He gave it and to the boy and to Hagar, and sent her away. So he gave it and the boy to Hagar and sent her away. Then she departed and wandered into the wilderness of Beersheba. And the water in the skin was used up, and she placed the boy under one of the shrubs. Then she went down and sat across from him at a distance of about a bow shot, and because she said to herself, Let me not see the death of the boy. So she sat opposite him and lifted her voice and wept. And God heard the voice of the lad, and the angel of God called out to Hagar out of heaven and said to her, What ails you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heard the voice of the lad where he is. Arise, lift up the lad, and hold him with your hand, for I will make him a great nation." Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and filled the skin with water and gave the lad a drink. So God was with the lad, and he grew and dwelt in the wilderness and became an archer. He dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took a wife for him from the land of Egypt. And it came to pass at the time that Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, spoke to Abraham, saying, "God is with you in all that you do. Now therefore swear to me by God that you will not deal falsely with me, with my offspring, or with my posterity, but that according to the kindness that I have done to you, you will do to me and the land in which you have dwelt." And Abraham said, "I swear." Then Abraham rebuked Abimelech because of a well of water that Abimelech's servant had seized. And Abimelech said, "I don't know who had done such a thing. You did not tell me, nor have I heard about it until today." So Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave them to Abimelech, and the two of them made a covenant. And Abraham set 7 ewe lambs of the flock by themselves. Then Abimelech asked Abraham, "What is the meaning of the 7 ewe lambs which you have set by themselves?" And he said, "You will take these 7 ewe lambs from my hand, that they may be my witnesses that I have dug this well." Therefore he called the place Beersheba, because the two of them swore an oath there. Thus they made a covenant at Beersheba. So Abimelech rose with Phicol, the commander of his army, and they returned to the land of the Philistines. Then Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and called on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. And Abraham stayed in the land of the Philistines many days. Okay, that's the end of chapter 21. We'll continue with Genesis tomorrow. And again, thank you for joining me. And you have a great day. Bye.